What excited you guys? What was the things that you guys got excited about in the Marvel announcements?
Secret Invasion.
Yep. Secret Invasion.
Yeah,
Secret
I mean,
Invasion.
from the Marvel side, I you know what? I'll say this: I don't get excited by trailers, but usually the trailers that I get the least excited about are the shows that I like the most. So, like, I saw
Right.
Secret Invasions, and I like that Sammy J is back, and I like that they are now inputting the parts of, well, wasn't the greatest reveal of what happened in Captain America with the scratch to his eye that made him have the eye patch versus your favorite part, Jay, your favorite part. And then, you know, and
Keep going,
then
Giff. Let's just keep going on.
bringing back Maria Hill, which I'd been wondering where she's gone since since Infinity War. So it was just like, it was good to see it back. I'm still not 100% sure exactly how they're going to plot this, because it is not going to be anything like the comics. I mean, it does, outside of there being replacements by scrolls, this looks like it's not like, if people were like, oh, Captain America Civil War obviously was nothing like the comics. This is even further than what it is. I'm good with that, but it's just like, I want to know more of what this story is before really jumping into it. So, but I was actually tepid on Thunderbolts as well, because I was really hoping to see Abomination, but again, She-Hulk is the world builder for this transition of the MCU, because obviously he decided to go really live with his 7 wives. No worries. I'm sorry, his 7 pen pals.
Soulmates.
Soulmates. Yes. What about you, JP? Of those things you mentioned, which has got your attention or your concerns?
Well, I'm excited for Secret Invasion. Me and my little boy really love like the trade paperback of Secret Invasion. But personally, I've been struggling with fatigue lately. With regards to with regards to all these like geek stuff, like comic book stuff. That's why, like, I'm enjoying that there's Game of Thrones again and Lord of the Rings, to just
break it up a little bit.
Yeah. And then they're just, and with Star Wars, they're just bombarding us with all these content. And it's actually to push product. Like, I've noticed it. It's basically to push product, variants of action figures and whatnot, and
got to get back that pandemic money.
yeah. So
yeah.
Like,
I think a lot.
Like, I appreciate what they're trying to do with Marvel and Star Wars, but at least they're trying to give us good stories with pushing of product, but it's getting tiring. It's getting pretty obvious. It's getting to be about product than telling stories for me.
Well, it's about putting content on their TV, on their streaming networks. They need to keep pumping out content to get more subscribers. They need, the streaming world is a monster that needs to be fed. So they have to keep people turning up again. And I think the fatigue you're talking about is shared by a lot of people. This D23, I don't think has helped at all, because what we talked about earlier, just so many people expected so much and got in their mind so little. So I guess for me, the Thunderbolts one was the most interesting, just the lineup there. The fact all they did is give us a lineup, and to go through those, those names, we got the Ghost, the Taskmaster, we've got the Red. Is it the Red Guardian? We got David Harbour's. Yeah, we've got Bucky Barnes. We've got U.S. agent Helena, who's supposed to be the head of the crew.
Right.
And then we've got, Madam Hydra. And someone made the observation that somewhere if you go to that website where they announce all these characters in the address on the on the website address, www, Nemo's name's actually in it. So, you got www.something-stroke.com, blah, 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 blah. In that, all those letters in that website address is Nemo's name.
Interesting. So he probably might be the big bad that brings it around.
Yeah.
He's the Joker to this Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Hopefully
well, he could be like, and someone made the point,
Nemo?
They haven't, Zemo.
Or Nemo.
Zemo.
So I got it wrong. I said Nemo. I was thinking about the bloody fish. But I guess the thing is to remember there is that this could be open ended, right? They're
right.
They're not going to throw all their cards out in the middle. But of the names they mentioned there, I was fascinated because as someone who likes screenwriting and stuff, the whole idea of these team up movies, the Avengers and all this stuff, even Guardian of the Galaxy to a lesser extent, but also the Suicide Squad, is how do you balance all these personalities? It's a real skill.
Right.
And so I looked at the personalities and I went, well, this is interesting. Particularly, we've got Taskmaster, who's extremely underwhelming from the last Black Widow movie. And you've got Ghost, who that movie wasn't nowhere near as bad, but that character, I just scratched my head to think, so what's her thing? She flickers, doesn't she? She flickers. She's kind of here and she's in pain, and she's an anti-hero in pain more than she is a person with bad intentions.
She has she's able to cross in and out of the quantum world. That's the flicker. That's her flicker, is that quantum world. So it makes more sense now than it did then. But of course, when it came out right after Infinity War. So it was hard for that movie too.
So those are characters they're going to have to work hard on to get us on board with them, particularly Taskmaster, because she was so underwhelming. But again, you've got other characters who can do that. So I think talked about previously, U.S. Agent and Red Guardian. You've got David Harbour, and you've got this white guy. These two actors who are born to clash. Like their characters have to clash.
Yes,
they're going to be alpha. They're going to be for the alpha male. They'll play those out, and that's exciting. And then of course you've got Elena, who is definitely one of my more favorite characters from Phase 4. Easy, and then you got Bucky, who is a strange one. I don't know if anyone, everyone was saying Abomination, Zemo. No one thought about having Bucky in there, but he probably will be the level-headed good guy and all that. And one of the questions that came to mind, and then I saw a couple of videos, is who would be the baddie or who would be the evil that would take these guys on, or they would have to take on? Like in the Suicide Squad, they tend to pick She-Hulk.
Zemo.
I mean, Zemo would be one. If they want to stick to that kind of civil war, like human versus human, do they want to do the Suicide Squad? Like first one, they went for a witch, which was dumb, but then they went for a giant starfish. Something, because if they go against another human being, in some respects, all of them are kind of superhuman.
Yeah.
And that may not stretch them, even though Zemo will probably, I imagine he'll play a part in there somewhere.
I mean, I think it's one of those situations. Continue.
Like Dr. Doom. I don't know why I thought of.
I mean, I think Dr. Doom. I think we're going to start to see the sprinkles of Dr. Doom. There's a lot of rumors talking about it, but we'll start seeing the sprinkles of Dr. Doom along within the MCU. Probably particularly starting from Wakanda Forever. But that being said, I think that for the Thunderbolts, Dr. Doom would be too big for where they need to start. I do think, like you said, they probably will go with somebody who is either powered or highly resourced in the equivalency of power, but not to the levels that is world busting, but enough to be able to say, like, we can dismantle some of your abilities to diminish them a little bit. So I am interested. I think it's going to be very important for them who they use as the villain, because you can't be Suicide Squad, because for whatever it's worth, it was just because the villain was so offset to who they should have been. it made the movie made the movie look worse than it could have been.
Yeah.
Obviously other stuff. And then The Suicide Squad, it found its balance a little bit more, but it was so much more character based. And we know these characters outside of really Elena and Red Guardian. I don't know anyone who's that enigmatic of a character to run. And then of course Lady Hydra. So unless she's like Julia Louis-Dreyfus is going to be a very big mainstay and not just a show up on this, this can't be super character driven. Even Bucky is kind of too dry to be rule the screen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's an interesting lineup, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're not finished with that lineup. It's be interesting. So that's my take on that. Was the one that took my eye from that. The two little things. I think Captain America has Isaiah
Bradley coming back, possibly.
Super
which
happy
is good.
to see.
Also means that we're putting into placement of young Iron Patriot.
Young Avenger.
Yeah, and again,
it's Patriot. Just Patriot.
Who?
Patriot. Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah. I said no. I was saying Iron Patriot is the one. Patriot. Yeah, you're right. Just Patriot. You're right.
So I was clear to hear that. It's supposed to be in the tradition of Civil War. So it's supposed to be that intense 70s political thriller idea. The Werewolves of the Night. I just thought that's a novelty. It's a bit like She-Hulk. That's a nice novelty. And then just the little thing that caught my attention is I don't know who said it, whether it was the New Rockstars or somebody pointed out that you see some fighting going on in that little black and white clip, and they're members of the TVA.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, okay, righty-ho, bring back the cool. That's good. Like, because we should see the TVA. Like, they're supposed to be monitoring everything in time and space. So good. Other than the bloody Celestial sitting in the Indian Ocean, their absence is kind of noticeable. Like the TVA really is clipping everything away. They should be there somewhere else.
Not necessarily. So technically, in the 616 universe, the 616 MCU universe, the TVA shouldn't exist because Loki and Sylvie kind of dismantled that bit by bit. Now, in another universe, the one that Loki entered into or other variation, you see there should be another TVA. So that one might be implementing into the next, but you don't have the clipping anymore because if you had the clipping going on, we wouldn't have multiverses. So it also is interesting to see where that stands out. And then, of course, the other part of Werewolf by Night is the fact that it connects to Moon Knight. Like that is the entrance there. So that sets up a lot of that Midnight Suns, which again we got a small reference. I got you, JP. I got you. No worries. Sets up the small reference to what She-Hulk provided us with Mephisto, which gives us an element of Ghost Rider. Thank you. And of course, we already know that Blade is already coming, and we already got his entrance a little bit in voice in the Eternals. So they're also low-key creating the Midnight Suns, which is part of what we were kind of hoping to see in this D23 because there's stuff for the 2024 mid-grades that need to be put in there.
Midnight Suns,
2024, 2025. So it's a lot that they're seeding in that without showing a lot.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe!
Die or die.